Live episode 30 of The Burrows. Kevin Monk, Michael Merlo coming to you every week in this offseason for the last 2 weeks and hopefully continuing further on. But of course, today here to discuss Mets signing Juan Soto and them flipping the city, so on and so forth. Had some technical difficulties if you were in for the first live, back now. But Mike, I'll start by saying what I said when we just did this a minute ago. I'm real happy for you. I don't want to sound like a petty fan at all today. Some of my criticisms and takes will just be because I think we need to have the conversation, but I am excited for Mets fans. I think that this was a home run deal. However you want to break it down, getting Soto. I wish Soto was still on my team. He's not. So we're going to discuss it today, Mike, but congrats. You deserve this, as do so many other Mets fans. And this was finally the moment of us seeing Steve Cohen is at the mountaintop, and he is willing to do whatever it takes to make the Mets the first-class organization in Major League Baseball.
Right, and this is definitely a big first step if last year wasn't a first step already. I mentioned this before we had the technical difficulties. It's not just because Soto was a Yankee that it's so special. It's because when Cohen bought the team and we realized the possibilities of Steve Cohen spending this kind of money, and we knew Juan Soto was going to become a free agent at some point. We knew this after he declined major extensions from other teams. This was a dream for Met fans. So it was like when he went to the Yankees, it was like, oh crap, like he might sign back there long term. When this was our dream for years as Mets fans, we saw Soto in the division with the Nationals for years. He absolutely crushed us. We saw him eliminate us in 2022 as well. So this was a big dream for Met fans to get him, and they were able to do so. And that's why it feels so good.
It's funny because long before I ever knew you, I had friends some great friends of mine that are Mets fans, and they would send in pictures of Soto, like that infamous photo of him at Citi Field before batting practice. They would send that in and say they can't wait until he hits the market. And this was all right after Cohen bought the team, and you knew that they were a free agent player. They couldn't wait till he hit the market to get him. That's 4 or 5 years ago now that Mets fans were doing that. So you're absolutely right. This has been something in the minds of Mets fans forever.
I remember that picture. Like that picture when he signed and that picture went viral the other night. I'm like, I remember this. I translated it for the caption. And it said something about loving New York. And he said so many times he loved hitting in Citi Field. It's something.
Yeah, so Soto is a Met. I'm curious to know, we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but what was your instant reaction moment of finding out? Who'd you find out from? Walk me through that.
So I was on the crapper, and I got a note. I was, at that point, we had gotten like notifications. It's coming. It's imminent. Sunday night. So I'm on Twitter just refreshing every 60 seconds. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me go on TikTok and distract myself. And then as I went on TikTok, I got one from Martino saying, I have Andy Martino's post notifications on. I got Martino, source, Soto is a Met. And then literally right after, I got Heyman. And I just started screaming. I was like, we got him. But high-pitched scream. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it happened.
It's incredible, man. I was in shock. Today's the first day where I'm really not. The last 2 days, I was just like, wow, I cannot believe that he's gone. And the upsetting thing for me is not what many other Yankee fans are feeling, which is that he's on the Mets. I don't care. I think that doing this show also helps me with that because it's a good thing for us that he stayed on the Mets and didn't go to the Blue Jays because that would have just been anticlimactic for us.
Or Boston. We had that bet.
I know. We had that bet that would have
sucked. Thank God.
We had to go and do that. But I think for me, it's just, damn, I got 1 year of Soto and Judge. That's a total tease. They get to the World Series. They absolutely could have gotten back if they re-signed him. And now I'm just kind of numb that they have to play without Soto next year. It sucks. He was so much fun this past season. You saw it, and now you get it for 15 years or however long it's going to be. Yeah. And I get it never again, ever.
You know what's shocking to me, and our parents, right, and people older than us dealt with the Yankees being the real bully, right? The Yankees spent all the money, and the Yankees dominated the Mets and killed the Mets, and the Yankees have obviously been a better organization, throughout history. But the Yankees aren't the only bullies now, right? There's other teams that are
Yeah.
bullies. So we haven't grown up in this generation of, well, the Yankees just dominate you, and you go to school as a Met fan, and the Yankee fans bullying you. We didn't grow up in this generation, right? But the one thing that's shocking to me that I was thinking about yesterday is that the Mets took a player that would have went into the Yankee Hall of Fame, that would have been in Monument Park, that would have had his number retired, that would have went into the Baseball Hall of Fame as a New York Yankee. And somehow, some way, and this is what's shocking to me, yes, of course, it's money, but the Mets were able to take that player out of the Bronx and bring him here and make him potentially that Hall of Famer as a Met, the greatest position player as a Met of all time. To me, because little brother syndrome, 100%. You guys are big brother,
and justified.
That is what's shocking to me, because I didn't think it was truly possible.
Just an aside, because of what you said there, we have talked about maybe too many times. I don't know why it comes up so often, though, how relatively easy it is to climb to the top of the Mets leaderboards in stats for position players. And that was my first thought when they signed him was, wow, this guy is easily the greatest player to ever play for the Mets, position player. But
it's also a lot of teams, though. It's also
for a lot of teams. Just because we've talked about it so much, I'm like, that conversation of Alonso is out the window because they just got Soto. And so that's done. But
Alonso might not even be the greatest power hitter of all time as a Met anymore. Soto might break all those records.
Soto might destroy everything. But I think another aspect of what you're saying with the fact that he went to Queens is so new and refreshing for a Mets fan. How about the fact that people our parents' age and older and our age, no Yankees fan has ever seen this happen in any context. You've never seen a big-time, high-profile free agent leave the Yankees that the Yankees wanted to keep. And the fact that the first time it happens, it's right after they lose the World Series and he goes to the Mets. That is a real tough pill to swallow, I think, for a lot of older Yankee fans. Even if they don't dislike the Mets, but where there's little brother syndrome for the Mets, we all feel like they are. That's not a thing that we're just saying, oh, no, they're on an even playing field with us. Mets fans are just delusional. Yankee fans don't feel that way. Now, there's become a sense in the last 2 days where I'm not here yet, and we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, later, but where Yankee fans feel like little brother after losing out on this. And I could get that.
It's funny you bring up them losing stars that they wanted, and legitimately, have they ever lost the guy they wanted? I mean, they didn't really want Cano. They offered a contract to Cano, but they weren't willing to go there with Cano. This is a guy that and Kevin, when we found out the final number, I was shocked in two ways. One, I was shocked, and it ends up not being as closer with the escalators that could be added to the Mets contract. But, I'm like, on the surface level, it's 765, 760. I was shocked they went to 760. I mean, I was shocked how it went to 760. And we talked about it on Sunday morning, how I texted you, because at that point I was still like, oh, he's a Yankee. And I guess that was everybody's guess at that point, even insiders. At Sunday morning, he was going back to the Yankees. And I had said, can't blame Cohen at this point. Cohen's doing everything he can. He's going to be the highest bidder and whatnot. And you said the same for Hal. And I come in here today saying the same thing. I mean, how could you be mad at your owner? You can't. He went above and beyond.
Yeah, I'm not upset with Hal. I think that a lot of people have said he wanted the Mets, and literally he chose the Mets. But I think what's more alarming to me, and it's a different way of phrasing maybe the same thing. I don't look at it the same, but I think it probably is to other people. That's just my weird way of thinking. I think what's more alarming is that he didn't want the Yankees. And if he wanted the Yankees, he would have stayed. That's the difference with past free agents, Judge, Jeter, A-Rod. They all wanted the Yankees. So when they had markets for other teams, you just had to get in the ballpark. You didn't have to blow them away. Soto definitely, and this is not a knock or a slight on the Mets, I think he definitely wanted the highest contract, and he wanted to be a $50 million a year player. He wanted to be the first $50 million a year player. And that is clear to me. But there's definitely an element of the Mets have now become an attractive enough destination, and not even attractive enough, a very attractive destination for players where they're saying, I'm happy to sign a 15-year deal here. This is not upsetting to me. But I am a little bit concerned that he didn't want the Yankees because that is new. That's not typical.
And I think we're going to learn more about this as we go on in the future with Cohen. I think players just like Cohen. I think players want to play for Steve Cohen because, as much as, again, the contract is different, the contract is better with the Mets. I think he believed, and these are the reports, he believed in Cohen, and he believes him when he says, I'm going to do everything I can to spend in the future, and all I want to do is win, and we're committed to not only just spending money, but being a good organization. I mean, again, we've talked about it. They haven't spent like drunken sailors. Like, yeah, this might be an outlier. This is a crazy contract, but they've been pretty disciplined in what they've done, and they understand what it takes to build a good organization, and it's building through your farm system and things like that, and they're continuing to get there. And we're going to talk about a possible trade finally with them, breaking the bank in terms of prospects and making a trade. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. They believe in these things. So I think he believed not only in the organization, Stearns and Mendoza, but he trusts Cohen.
He does, and I think that on the Yankees side of it, because I'll keep bringing it back to it because that's what we do here. And first of all, you're absolutely right. And Stearns, what a dream of a team president for the Mets after I saw someone the other day talking about, you like Cohen's ability to get you wins. He's had 4 executives and 4 managers in 5 years. Well, there's no doubt he landed the right one last year because so that's all out the window. I mean, David Stearns is an absolute pros pro, and I get he's never been in a World Series. He's never won one, but he's also never had a bad team. And now he's got the resources and a manager that we think has a great relationship with the clubhouse and a good feel for what needs to be done to where they can absolutely start winning. And I don't agree with the notion of, Cohen can't win and he's a reckless owner. People are talking about him like he's David Tepper. Yeah, it's just absolutely not the case.
And remember, he waited for Stearns for a very long time. He waited 2 years for Stearns.
He wanted Stearns. He wanted Stearns the whole way. And he identified him, and he made sure he got him when he was available. And the first year he's got him, they are in a transition year that they go to the National League Championship Series. And then they signed the best free agent in over 2 decades in baseball. So that is what the Mets have done. That gives you reason to believe the Mets will win. I think part of the reason why I've been saying for the last 6-7 years with the Yankees is you have to switch it up with Cashman, who is objectively a good general manager, maybe not even great anymore, but good, is the player relationship doesn't seem to be there between the front office and ownership and the players. And I think you saw that on full display here. You have one group in the Mets that are willing to do everything with their player relations, and a group with the Yankees who feel as if they've gotten a little bit stale with player relations. And I don't think that Hal Steinbrenner excels in player relations either, the way that Cohen obviously does.
Well, I mean, we know about the job he did with Judge, and I'm sure they have a great relationship. And Judge is obviously, a homegrown Yankee, and the call from Italy to get to push the deal over the finish line with Judge. I don't know. I mean, we see Hal in press conferences and interviews and things like that, and he doesn't come across. Now, he could be completely different in person and off camera, but he doesn't come across as that guy that, has those kinds of relationships with players. We could be completely wrong, and I could be completely out of left field, but that's my view on it. I mean, he just looks like, I even watched the press conference with Garrett Cole the other day, and I was just like, yeah, Jack, yeah, please. And, he just feels awkward in those situations.
He is awkward. Leiden says this is bound to fail. I'm not on board with this is bound to fail.
I mean, this guy Leiden would have done backflips for Juan Soto to be a Red Sox, but this is going to fail here. Okay. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on the next couple of years of the Mets here and their ability to at least stay in the top 6 in the NL playoffs or top 4 in the NL playoffs every single year. But yeah, I think the ownership relationship with players with the Yankees is subpar, to say the least. I don't know though. We have no idea. But there was the one report, and I forget who had it, that Soto asked in his meeting with Steinbrenner, why didn't you make an attempt to really build a relationship with me this year. And I don't remember who reported it. Mike, I also do have to say I'm not totally buying into all of these reports because there's been a lot of stuff from a lot of different people that seems to conflict with other reports. So I don't know who to really go with here. I've liked Heyman for the most part because I think he's got the great in with Boris for this after contract stuff. But with Steinbrenner, that's something that he has to look at and say, what can I be doing better?
And I read this from, I think it was somebody with the New York Post, and I think it was Joel Sherman that had wrote, Steinbrenner didn't want to make it seem like he was pushing Soto, didn't want to distract him. This was the report. So that's why there wasn't really a relationship here in the 1 year. That's according to, the New York Post, though, how he didn't want to feel like he was pushing Soto in a way. So
that just feels like a guy who doesn't know how to interact with his players, though, because, if one of us owned the team, I'd like to think in the last year we'd find a way to build a relationship with Juan Soto.
Yeah. Again, you do want to bring this guy back. So you don't have to discuss contracts during the year, but you could be, I don't know. I don't know how that relationship works. I really don't.
I don't either. But, guys taking batting practice 4 hours before a game. He's just standing on the side of the cage. Hey, Juan, what's going on?
Yeah.
How's it going? Everything going well? You need anything?
Maybe that did happen. Who knows?
I know. I think
you know what though? It's like you get these reports too yesterday how Cohen was willing to give him a suite and Steinbrenner wasn't. It's like at the end of the day, how much does that matter? Does that go to player relationship with owner, or does just fall into that category, or did he really want the suite? I don't think Soto sat here and said to Scott Boras, look at the 2 contracts. The Mets, I don't really want to go there, but they're giving me a suite. Yeah. So, because the Yankees, the reason I said to you last night, it's a brief disagreement that we'd have. I mean, it's so irrelevant, I think, is I wouldn't have given him the suite if I was the Yankees. And it's not like a pompous Yankee thing. It's just Yankees have the nicest suite in the whole building is for players and coaches' families. So they already have one, but it's not private to one player. Right.
It's for the whole team. So you already have that free seating, and it's the size of 2 suites that they're giving for the whole team, whole coaching staff, whatever. But the thing for me is I don't love giving that extra amenity to a guy because now I feel like I'm putting him above the rest of the players in the clubhouse. Now, one other player has ever gotten a suite in his contract for every home game. Do you know who it is?
I don't.
Take a guess. It's a pretty easy guess. In all of Major League Baseball. No, Ohtani this year. So
are you sure?
Yeah, Ohtani's the first player to get.
I thought Lindor has one.
Lindor gets a suite for a certain amount of games and a road hotel suite every time they're on the road. So I was looking at all of them this morning. I looked at Bryce Harper. I was looking at even Freddie Freeman. Like anyone who's ever made 150 million plus, I'm looking at all of these guys and saying, what are they getting?
I think Scherzer had one. With the Mets?
Okay, so he could have. Honestly, I didn't look at Scherzer or Verlander on the 3-year deal.
I think they both had one.
You could be right. So so that could be a thing that Cohen's bringing out. Clearly, Cohen he's expressed over and over again, he doesn't really care about selling suites and tickets. He just wants to win, and the rest will come. That is, I mean, if Cohen loses money owning the Mets, but they're winning, it almost feels like he's a happy man at the end of the day. I don't think
he's winning. He's winning in his life.
He's added $1 billion or $2 billion a year outside of the Mets to his own net worth, so I don't think he really cares. But the suite thing, it's totally different. Maybe not, but I think it is. It reminds me of when the Broncos gave Russell Wilson his own office and his own, which was ridiculous, like totally catering to a guy. I don't like what that could do to a clubhouse, but I don't think it's going to affect the Mets in a negative way. No. Just my personal thing. Irrelevant disagreement.
You know what, though? It sounds so stupid, right? Like, it is stupid. But I don't know, like, and again, I don't think it would have been I don't think it was the deal breaker. But if it was and the Yankees didn't go there, it's like, what the hell? But it wasn't the deal breaker.
That's what I was going to say. If Boris went back to Steinbrenner and Cashman and said, he's a Yankee if you give him a suite for each year. I think he has one.
Yeah.
I think he would have one. Also,
I can't believe Jeter still pays for his suite and when he goes to a game, and Judge
that's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Jeter should not have to. Jeter's the sixth all-time hits leader. He's one of the top 5 players to ever play for your franchise. He won 5 world championships. I
hate Derek Jeter. He should go to Yankee Stadium in a suite whenever he wants and not have to pay.
Yeah, that one I agree with. With Soto too, though, I can see me being like, dude, I'm giving you $765 million. You can buy the suite if you want it. All right? You can buy it if you want it. I'm done giving you stuff. Because at a point, I like the thoughts of David Stearns and Brian Cashman, who are just lifetime baseball executives who are so well respected, being at a point like, this contract sucks.
Yeah, they're both sitting there like, what am I like?
And as a fan, who cares? Should be absolutely amped for it.
Right.
But both of them had to have gotten to a point in the last 2 weeks where they're like, man, I really want the player, but this is an irresponsible contract.
And the owners are just sitting there bidding more. I mean, we read that article last night from Heyman in the Post, how Cohen sat there and was like, he met with him privately again at his house in Florida. And he goes, yeah, I'm in second place 100%, but I'm just going to keep bidding because why not? I mean, like, these guys are sickos.
Yeah, we're losing to the Yankees. I'm going to throw an extra $55 million out there.
That's what he did. That's literally what he did.
Just in case.
Yeah.
And then you get him, and you're pumped about it because, man, I'm just going to pivot to what the team looks like now. The top 3 I think it'll be Lindor, Soto, Vientos in the top 3, and then it'll fall in line after that. If they sign Alonso, we'll talk about that in a minute. But what's up with this Mark Vientos slander going around social media? Have you seen this?
Yes,
Did he not just have one of the best postseasons by a second-year player we've ever seen?
He was unbelievable in the postseason. We saw what he did in the regular season. I mean, I think this guy has been written off by so many different, his own fan base, now other people. He's just going to come out this year. I think he's going to kill it. I mean, he was unbelievable last season. And for a 24-year-old in his first postseason appearance, have a 1,000 OPS and have 5 home runs, he's just, I don't know. Kevin, I'm lost for words with that.
I know
he's not Aaron Judge. He's not Aaron Judge.
No.
Of course, nobody's Aaron Judge, but like he's pretty good protection. Him and Alonso, if they come back.
It's so stupid. Everyone's saying he could have hit in front of Judge. All right, well, Judge is a 1-of-1 hitter in Major League Baseball. I still sit here, and I've said it for a year now. He's the best hitter in baseball.
Yeah.
Ohtani second, Soto's probably third. So you look at Mark Vientos' stats. Okay, he's not Judge, but in 111 regular season games last year, he knocked in 71 runs, hit 266, walked 33 times. This is a really good hitter. I mean, this is a guy that's really good.
So, I mean, he projects to be a fantastic number 3 hitter.
Soto's not leaving and going to hit 2 on the Tigers.
No. I mean, the top 4, if they bring Alonso back, I mean, the top 4, it's not as good as the Dodgers, but I mean, you're going to sit there and say, it compares, it's like, it's up there with the best of the best.
I know you're not a huge RBI guy. I am. I love RBIs. I think it's great.
I like RBIs.
But Vientos, I think, is a lock to be a 100 RBI guy next year. If that's the lineup. Lindor, Soto, Vientos, they're on base the whole game.
With them hitting in front of him, 100%.
They're on base every time he comes up. He has a runner in scoring position. That's what happened with Judge this year. It was every time they came. And what did Judge have? 143 RBIs?
Again, like, that was the thing. Like, my friend who loves Mark Vientos calls me up last night and he goes, why are people disrespecting Mark Vientos? I'm like, it's not really a disrespect at Mark Vientos. It's just like, he isn't hitting in front of the best player in baseball anymore. He's not.
Judge last year hit 58 home runs, 144 RBIs, 322 average, and a 458 on base with an 1,100 OPS. I mean, we're probably not going to see a season that good in the next 10 years at the plate.
Right.
That's just one of those seasons. So, yeah. And did some of that, listen, no one flips the argument. Did a lot of that get help from Soto? Yeah. He got help from Soto for those stats. So you think Vientos isn't going to have some positive benefit from Soto too?
Oh my God, he's gonna have a fantastic year. And then Alonso, if they bring Alonso back off a contract after a down year, I mean, I think he's going to go crazy too.
Yep. Yep. So Alonso. So look at the rest of the team, right?
Yeah.
Let's get into their next couple days.
Yeah.
Alonso, I think, should be back. Minaya, I think, absolutely has to and will be back. He's felt like a lock. We talked about how well embraced he was and how well he gave that back to the fans, both in performance and off the field. So Minaya, I think, has a home here, and he should want to be here for a second or third best contract on the table. But the team right now, when you post their current lineup and their current pitching staff, is not a top 2 team in the National League.
Absolutely
I don't think. They're definitely not. I don't think they're better than I don't even think the top 3. I think San Diego, LA, and Atlanta are all better.
Yeah.
But there's a way to change that. What are you looking for them to do here these next few weeks?
Yeah, so they got to bring Alonso back, add him to that lineup, and like I mentioned, that top 4 is great. You go Nimmo 5. Can you get anything out of Alvarez 6? I mean, the lineup just lengthens and it looks very, very good. So bring Alonso back. Obviously, Minaya, I mean, the rotation does not look good right now. They have depth. That's the one thing they're going to have, is they're going to have depth, which is a good thing, and you need depth. But they do need guys at the top. I think they're going to go get Sean Minaya. They'll bring him back. That's a must. Is mutual interest. You mentioned it. So I think Minaya will be back as well. We saw last night that they're now one of the favorites with the Yankees and a couple of other teams to go get Garrett Crochet from the White Sox. I think that would put them over the top in terms of their rotation if they're able to bring Minaya back as well.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all moves that I would really like. And obviously the bullpen, they're going to need bullpen help. But, I mentioned this to somebody last night. Brian Cashman, Andrew Freeman, and David Stearns are guys that, I don't really care what they do in the bullpen. I trust it's going to work. And it didn't work early in the year for the Mets, but it did at the end when the bullpen really solidified. So I trust these guys to just bring in whatever arms they're going to bring in, and they're probably going to fix the bullpen.
And also with starter depth, if you have 7 guys, and we're including Clay Holmes as one of them, if you're thinking about the bullpen for the postseason, then you feel pretty good about 2 of those guys being contributors. So Holmes would probably be a guy that I'm not expecting him to have a Michael King year. So he'd probably be a guy that's the 5th or 6th starter on the Mets all regular season and gets relegated to the pen for the playoffs and becomes a big 6, maybe 9 out guy in certain scenarios. So first of all, can we just talk about that signing for a second?
Yeah,
we haven't really spoken about it. Your thoughts on Clay Holmes being signed to start for the Mets? Because personally, I hate it, but could see why there's a potential with Stearns and Mendoza and the familiarity.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just, after 1 year, I would develop a trust for what they have with no evidence whatsoever. We know Clay Holmes has good stuff, right? We've seen it. But I mean, he's susceptible to the long ball. He gave up a lot of home runs. They moved him to the setup man role, and he was good in the setup man role. So I think this is a contract where they're going to take a shot. They clearly see things that others don't in him, and they think they could transform him into a starter. And obviously, if that doesn't work, this is a guy that has pitched well late in games. And he's not going to be your closer. So if he's your setup man, it's an expensive setup man, but you got a guy experienced at the back end of your bullpen.
Yep, absolutely. So I think that overall, good deal. They signed Jonathan Loaizaga today, another Yankee. So I think
is that official?
I just saw a bunch of tweets about it. So.
It was that Hispanic reporter Mike Rodriguez.
Okay, I saw it when I first woke up, so I was a little.
It's not official. Also, if they gave Jonathan Loaizaga 3 years after Tommy John surgery, I'd be a little upset. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I think he should get a 1 for 4.
Yeah, even if it was 1 for 9.
Okay, so that wasn't real.
That is.
Maybe it ends up being real later on, but it's not right now.
There's no way they're giving him 3 years off of Tommy John.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this was Mike Rodriguez.
There's no way.
Jonathan Loaizaga is about to. No, well, it could be a 3-year deal with team options.
Okay.
All right. What else did I want to talk about?
I would like it. I think if they bring him in on a 1-year contract, sure. Again, they have experience with these Yankee guys. Bring them in. I don't give a rat's ass.
If you have familiarity with these guys, and first of all, Loaizaga, when he's healthy, has always been pretty good. So
right, he's got good stuff.
So it's worth taking the risk on. Holmes is more of a project that you're going to have some insurance for if he's not good, that's something that you're going to make sure doesn't ruin your season.
Right.
So that is what it is. The coaches know what they're getting with him. Of course, the old assistant pitching coach for the Yankees is with the Mets, and they have Mendoza, so they know what's going on.
Apparently, it was a big get for them too. That guy, the assistant coach, was big with the Yankees, and they were excited about that. I read so.
Yeah, I can believe that because Matt Blake is so highly regarded. So I'm assuming whoever he's picking to be his right hand guy is also very highly regarded. So that's a good pickup for the Mets, who are building an elite coaching staff that the Yankees had the whole time on their bench, but we don't have to go into that. So, Alonso, you think Alonso here is? Do you think he's going to be back, or
lock.
do you just
lock?
He's a lock, total lock
in the next 3 days.
You think he sacrifices money to play for the Mets?
Yeah, I think he would.
Well, not that he would, but do you think it's going to end up being that way? Or do the Mets take care of him here and say?
I don't think if it is, I don't think it'll be much.
Okay,
but I think
there's definitely going to be a few contract offers on the table for him.
I think that from what we've read early, as much as you want to believe it, I mean the teams after him are not big market teams, so you don't have that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have big market teams after him, and like the Nationals were interested in him, but the Nationals aren't willing to pay. So like you have these teams that aren't going to be willing to pay him. So I think possibly he sacrifices some cash, but the Mets want him back, right? And he wants to be back. They're going to work something. They're going to work something out.
All right. Anything else on the Mets here? Or are you ready to pivot to Yankees aftermath?
Yeah, I'm ready to pivot here.
All right, let's pivot to Yankees aftermath. We already talked a little bit about their standing earlier, but I want to just start right away. Do we still feel like they're the top team in the American League?
As currently constructed, no. But I think they will be after they construct this thing and get this thing going. There's a lot of money that they now have the ability to spend, right, on a few players and trades that they could possibly make. So, I think this season is going to be so reliant on guys like Dominguez and Volpe and Wells all taking that next step. I mean, Wells showed more than any of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got to see it from Volpe. A lot of pressure on Jason. You see these memes about Jason Dominguez, like, we've been hearing it since 2020 now. Like, let's go and pick it up. Like, and it's true. I mean, it's been almost 3-4 years now. We've been hearing about Jason Dominguez. Let's go, pick it up. Figure it out.
You saw the early explosion from him, and then he gets Tommy John 2 weeks later, which is just such a freak thing for an outfielder to have to go through. And then last year he didn't look great in the few games he played. So now you're hoping that I think what they have to do here now, though, is they can't be sitting here saying, well, maybe Grisham's going to start, maybe Verdugo we're going to bring back, maybe Dominguez. We'll let you know around spring training time if you're going to be a starter. They have to commit to him or be non-committal right now. Yeah. And they have to tell him so he can get ready for this and say, you are our starting center fielder this year. And I think he will be. So let's make that known now. Give him the full offseason to work on it. Silver lining, while we're talking about outfielders, to the Soto thing leaving, I am a firm believer that Aaron Judge is the best right fielder in the league defensively. Very excited to see him back there. The Yankees outfield sucked last year with Judge in center and Soto in right, and Verdugo in left had some bad moments. So the Yankees outfield stunk. Dominguez had some bad moments in left field too. So happy to see Judge back in right. But yeah, you got to commit to Dominguez now. So I agree with you. But if you're Brian Cashman, what is your first pivot point? Who are you looking at right away saying, now that I didn't get Soto, I need to get this guy, whether it's trade or free agency?
I think Bellinger. I know you're not a fan of Bellinger. I think Bellinger makes a lot of sense. Like you could stick, and this would I would move Dominguez to left, and I would play Bellinger in center. He's a good defensive player.
You wouldn't play Bellinger at first base, though.
No, because I would go get Walker too.
Okay.
I'd bring in Christian Walker because he's a good defensive first baseman and he can hit, man. I mean, go look at those numbers the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He'd be a huge upgrade. You're improving your team defensively in both places, in center and first base. Those are two moves I would go make right away. Get all Bellinger. Right. I think Bellinger's just he's a good player. I think he would fit in that stadium. He's got a really nice swing. I think Bellinger makes a lot of sense.
I could see the upside of Bellinger. I could see the positive and how it works out. Let me throw the pipe dream out there, though. The pipe dream right now for me, and I think for a lot of Yankee fans, is the fact that Kyle Tucker, I think, is definitely getting traded this offseason.
I was gonna
So
bring that up.
Kyle Tucker is an immediate resolve to replacing Soto. He's not as good, but he makes you feel right away like your lineup didn't get any worse.
I would
Just
agree.
the perception of it. Him hitting in front of Judge or right behind Judge in that top three, you're saying, all right, we didn't get any worse here.
He's a fantastic player. Dana Brown has talked about it, how, they're willing to trade anybody. They're listening on everybody. It's so stupid that they wouldn't try. I mean, he's gonna be a free agent next year. So it's the same situation as Soto, where you're getting a guy for 1 year, but Tucker is just an unbelievable baseball player. And the fact that he's available, and, look at the history of the Astros, they don't give out these big long-term contracts. Mm-hmm. You're right. It might be almost a given he's going to be traded here.
Yeah, he's a free agent next year, as you said. They don't give out more than 6-year deals. That's a thing. And you think Kyle Tucker's taking a 6-year deal at 27 after seeing what Soto just signed for? Is Kyle Tucker getting 700 plus? No. But man, can he get 11, 12 for 400? Absolutely. On the open market next year. After he's 27 right now. After what Soto just got? I mean, Tucker's stats are ridiculous. 100%. So he's not signing a 6-year 2.8, a 6-year 200 something with the Astros. It's just not going to happen. So they're going to have to move him.
And while we're on it, you think they bring Bregman back?
No, we already turned down one contract from them.
He turned down 6 years for. He turned down something big.
It was a good contract offer. He wants $200 million plus. I don't think they're going to give it to him.
Yeah, interesting.
I think he's going to be a Red Sox.
Bregman?
Yeah, and a real surprise move. I think they're going to end up, because I think they're going to lose all the pitchers, the Red Sox. I think Fried or Burns is going to be a Yankee. I think Burns is going to. I think Fried's going to be a Yankee.
Fried will be a Yankee. Burns will be a Giant.
Yeah, Burns is going to be a West Coast or
Giant.
Toronto might desperations sign. Giant, I like the two teams there. And then I think the Red Sox are going to be sitting around saying, man, we need to get somebody because we wanted to spend all this money. Our fans expected us to spend all this money. So let's just go get Bregman.
So you're going to
Bregman would be great.
You're going to trade Casas and move Bregman to third. I mean, Devers to first.
No,
they're considering trading Casas.
I know, maybe, or can you move him to the middle infield? Bregman, could you put him at second? Who's their second baseman? Story? Is Story their second baseman?
Unfortunately for them, I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. I think in that scenario they would trade Casas.
All right, so I think that they might though, because I've been reading about that a little bit, and I could see it. I could see it making sense.
No Bregman for the Yankees. Good defensive player.
No, I don't think they're going to be into it. I think Cashman's also so out on anyone from that Astros team, where Tucker was not a part of that team, so Tucker makes sense if it was to happen. But Kyle Tucker's the guy that I would definitely give up your top prospects for.
So you're trading Dominguez for him?
I would trade Dominguez and maybe Ben Rice to get him. I don't think Houston's going to get a better offer than that for a 1-year guy who's definitely going to hit the open market. I think the Yankees test their luck again and say, I'm not losing a great free agent 2 years in a row.
Yeah, he would like hitting in that ballpark too.
They also have to say, I don't think Cohen is going after Tucker next year. I don't think Cohen's going to offer Tucker a $400 million contract.
He would not.
So the Yankees, Yankees are going to sit here and I think have to be confident about.
And you're going to play Tucker and right. I mean left. Excuse me. You're going to play Tucker and left.
Yeah, Tucker and left.
And it's a really good player, Gavin. 30 home runs in 140 games in 21 as a 24-year-old. All-Star in 2022, 30 home runs. Last year, he was on a MVP kind of pace. He was on pace with Soto last season. That's how good of a year he was having. So, that'd be a big get.
That's if you want to get serious about not losing the city, if that's an ego thing that's at play here for the Yankees, there's that. Then there's also your quest to win a World Series. You can get a player that produces at almost the same rate as Soto for half the contract, and you just have to give up a pair of good prospects. I mean, Ben Rice does not have a future with the Yankees, I don't think. So you get rid of him, And maybe you throw in Will Warren, who absolutely sucked last year and would be a superstar with Houston.
Right.
But, Mike, I'd also send Luis Heel there. Just won Rookie of the Year. I'd send him over there. He's got the innings limit concerns. If you're going to go sign Fried, go send Luis Heel and Dominguez to Houston for Kyle Tucker.
Also, just something interesting. He's not repped by Boris. And yes, this is a guy that would want to hit the open market, I'm sure, but you'd be more willing to offer him contract extensions and have him be serious about accepting them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
if you were to trade for him.
I think Tucker's a pipe dream. I'm not going to get excited about that. But that is the one move, too, where I can sit here after losing Soto and get really excited about.
I think, like, again, and you asked me, is this still the best team in the American League, right now? And no, it's not. But they're a few moves away from me saying, oh, yeah, it's the best team in the American League again. So excited, like if they went and got Bellinger, Walker, and somebody else, you're not excited? Fried, Walker, Bellinger, you're not excited about the possibilities for next season? I mean, I saw Joel Sherman yesterday on MLB Network. He talked about, the big moves, that weren't made by the team that lost a big player. A-Rod with the Mariners, and the Mariners won 116 games when he left. And, Soto and the Padres. The Padres lost them. They're in the playoffs again, and they were one of the best teams in baseball. The Nationals losing Harper. Nationals won the World Series because of Soto. But, like that is the thing. I'm not saying the Yankees going to be they're better off, but I don't believe that. I think Soto's that good of a player, but they could salvage this 100%. They still have the best player in baseball.
What worries me, and what I look at with all those other teams, is all those other teams had a star that could step in and replace the production of the one they lost. With the Nationals in 19, their top three was Turner, Soto, and Rendon, who was an MVP finalist that year. Mm-hmm. So they didn't. It's not like they had Volpe, Judge, and Durbin hitting top three, who's going to be the Yankee second baseman. I mean, that's like our Austin Wells. I mean, that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
No, but those guys do need to step up. I mean, not to that level, but those guys do need to produce if this team is going to be great.
The reason I wouldn't get too excited until the season started, though, is that I would say if you added, say it's Bellinger, Walker, and Fried. Now you're relying on three guys all to have close to career years to make you a good team. You're looking for what Walker did last year and the year before. You're looking for Fried to be a sub-3 ERA pitcher, and you're looking for Bellinger to hit 30 home runs and hit 260-plus at Yankee Stadium. I don't think that all three of those happen. The probability is low, whereas with Soto or with Kyle Tucker, I'm very confident that I'm getting 30 home runs, a 280 hitter, 350-plus on base. Soto, I mean, you're getting a 400 on base, and it's a lock. Yeah. And you're getting over 95 RBIs and over 70 runs scored. Like, I feel great about those guys doing that. I don't feel great that three players even stay healthy. I don't feel great that three players all end up being on, the same page and having these career years. I just think it's so much lower probability for that to happen.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Are we sure Fried's the right move for this team?
No, I'm not. I think let me look through his stuff again, because I was looking at it the other day.
Probably going to be in the $200 million range or close to it. Long-term contract. He's had injury concerns most of his career, including the last couple of seasons. Are we 100% positive that giving Fried $180, $200 million is the best idea here?
Well,
I like Fried. I do.
Well, how old is he now? I think did you say it? How old is he?
I didn't.
I think he's 30. He's going to be 30 when the season starts. He's going to be 31 when the season starts.
Wow.
My concern with Fried is his health, but the reason I almost want him over the rest of the guys, one, the Yankees need a lefty behind Cole. Rodon sucks. And I like the lefty, but I would have wanted Snell. But there's something wrong with Burns.
Yeah,
something is wrong with Burns that he was not a Garrett Cole level free agent.
I agree.
I don't know what is wrong with Burns.
It's his cutter. It's the shape of his cutter. Listen to the nerds talk about it. It's the shape of his cutter that is not – there's something wrong with it.
Because they're the teams. I said this to you the other day, if David Stearns is not interested in Corbin Burns, I want no part of him.
Which he's not.
Exactly. So that is a huge worry for me because David Stearns has all the money in the world. He could get the best homegrown player he's ever been responsible for in the late prime, but still feels like his prime of his career. You could make that happen. Also,
and there's a need at the top there.
Why isn't new ownership in Baltimore interested in Burns? They seem very fair weather on Burns, like, if we lose him, whatever.
Yeah.
Why are they not so jacked up about Corbin Burns?
I see, and you said this last night, and I think there's risk here for sure. I think Crochet makes a ton of sense for the Mets, and I'd almost be happy if they did it. I'd be very happy if they did it. And I think he makes a lot of sense for the Yankees because and more so for the Yankees because, they need to allocate their resources elsewhere, I think, right now. And if they were to make that trade, Crochet is young. Yes, it's a risk, health risk. There's health risks with every pitcher, but this guy's nasty. I mean, he's got nasty, nasty stuff. And if you kept him healthy, which all these teams I'm guessing are saying they can, he had innings limits as well last season. That's why he didn't pitch as much. But this guy is legit talented. And I think it's less of a risk for the Yankees to send a few prospects over than pay Fried $200 million.
Well, I have two things on Crochet. One, if you're sending the prospects for him, it's got to be a good group of prospects. Send it for Tucker. I don't want Crochet more than the hitter. So if you're going to go acquire a star through trade, go get the hitter with the way this team is right now because you already have the ace. Next is the trade deadline demands that Crochet made that kind of made him seem like a maniac. It did scare the hell out of me then. That frightened me a lot.
Yeah.
And I think a guy with that mindset, Mike, I don't, there's pressure on the Mets now, so it might end up being different. But I think the daily pressure on players that are playing for the Yankees is so much greater than any other team in the league to a point where it's a detriment. So if you get a guy who's already got a little bit of an issue with keeping cool and he comes and sucks the first 2 months with the Yankees, it's over.
I also think he just wanted out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just wants out of that situation and into a winning situation. I think, again, there was refusal. There was, a refusal to pitch if they didn't trade him and things like that. He wants out of there. I think when he's in a winning culture, I think he's going to be fine. And I'm guessing that's why listen, the top teams in baseball want, are interested. The Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Phillies. A lot of teams are in here. So, if there was serious concern about character and things like that, I don't think these teams, specifically the Mets and the Yankees, would be in here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I understand. What it comes down to for me really is I'm looking through these pitchers and I almost get to a point where I say, you already have Cole. Can we take the flyer on Walker Buehler? Can we take the flyer on Nate Eovaldi? And can we just try and get this lineup right? Because losing Soto is so big. And I will say, if there's one pitcher I want in the whole league, I wanted to mention this before, but it's Tanner Scott. And you talked about Cashman's bullpen and Stearns' bullpen and trusting it. But I would like to get back to the moment where the Yankees have that one guy in the pen where you just feel excellent about. Because they always had it with Chapman and Andrew Miller, Betances, obviously Mariano. So now this last 2 years of Clay Holmes being a little shaky, and then you had Michael King for a brief moment. Luke Weaver, I don't think is that guy really, but you feel good about having him. If you get Scott also, power lefty closer, that is a game changer for me.
Yeah, that'd be big. I would assume they're going to be interested. I know the Dodgers are interested there as well.
He's the Ohtani stopper.
I'm sure the Padres are going to be interested too to try and stop Ohtani. So, he's going to get big money. He's going to get.
I almost think that's why Los Angeles wants him. It's so that they don't have to face him.
Yeah,
because that's almost a better poach than it is an acquisition, and he's a great acquisition. That would just be
nice lefty. Let's go get Soto out in the NLCS.
Yeah,
get Harper out in the NLCS. Get Olsen out in the NLCS. Yeah, that's big.
The Yankees left the options last year when they got to the point where it really mattered in the World Series was Cortez and Tim Hill. That's not good.
I would also love the Mets to go get him. The more you think about it, they didn't.
Why
They
not?
literally did not have a lefty in the pen last season.
And the best lefty bullpen pitcher is on the market. He's available.
Yeah, go get Ohtani out. Just think about the guys in your own division. You got to get Harper out how many times a year? Olsen out how many times a year? Go get him, Stearns. Let's go.
I mean, his stats last year, he's
nasty.
Threw, how many innings did he throw last year? I'm trying to add them up because they're all split between the two teams. I can't do math that well. He threw 45 and 2/3 innings with Miami, and then 26 and a third is 45 plus 20 is 65 plus 6, really plus 7 is 72 innings last year.
Yep.
And he had an ERA of 1.7.
Yep.
84 strikeouts.
Wow.
And a 1.1 whip.
That's good.
It's good. It's good. Good season. Also, Devin Williams available. Does Stearns try and go there? Or possibly available? I don't think he does either. But that's another player who, if you really want Tanner Scott and you lose out on him, whatever teams that may be, whether it's the Dodgers or someone else, that's going to be a place that they probably pivot.
This is going to be a fun offseason, man. There's a lot of really good players. I think you're going to see a lot of big trades. I'm excited for the rest of this offseason. I really am.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good offseason. Just remind everyone that Friday we're doing at 11 o'clock. Gabe, Mike, and myself, we're going to do an in-depth breakdown of Plan B for the Yankees. We'll also talk a little bit of the Mets financials, but we're not just going to be sitting here talking. I'm going to have some visuals for you to look at. Last thing I wanted to do here is with the Yankees. We briefly mentioned this also. Let's talk about the potential positive of not getting Soto, which I'll reiterate, I wish that they did. And they'd be in a much better position right now if they had. But you see guys like Jeff Passan saying the best move the Yankees didn't make was Soto, and they should be glad. And we've seen people suggest that the Yankees and Brian Cashman took a sigh of relief when they didn't have to commit that money to Soto.
Right.
The path to actually becoming better. Now, there is one, but they have to get very aggressive here. They can't just sign two guys and rely on a bunch of young players. They have to sign a few big names, rely on the young players, play some good complementary baseball. But do you think there actually is a way that the Yankees could be a better baseball team than they were last year with what they do this offseason?
JM commented it before over here, and he said it to me last night. You got to get athletic. This team was the opposite of that last season. So if you can sort of change your identity and figure this thing out, get better defensively, and overall, I mean, the team is going to be younger, right? You're just going to have more younger players starting and having more of a role. But I think getting more athletic is a big thing. I mean, it's a complete opposite of what they've done. So, yeah, I think that's the way to go here. Kind of changing your identity a little bit. Your identity runs through Aaron Judge being the best hitter in baseball. But, I think being better defensively, being able to steal some bags, put yourself in position. A full year of Jazz is going to be big as well. Yes, saw Cashman make the crucial mistake yesterday saying his name, right?
Classic.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. That's really tough for Cash.
Yeah. It happens to all of us.
It happens to the best of us, but, not the spot for it.
No.
Are you jealous of these people? I would die to be at the winter meetings right now.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm looking at the yes table yesterday while they're having everybody on.
God.
And it just looks like paradise for baseball fans. Did you see Boone yesterday?
I saw Boone at the Eagle game on Sunday and then fly into Dallas 2 hours later.
Boone yesterday, you got to see the outfit he was wearing. Black sport coat, black pants, like black suit without a button down, and he's wearing this this black turtleneck, but the turtleneck part of it was so violently in your face when you're watching the video. It was an obnoxious turtleneck. And he's sitting there talking, and it's almost like his entire head is inside of this turtleneck. And you can't even focus on anything he's saying.
I got to look right now.
because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, that is the most ridiculous looking turtleneck ever. It's not modest at all. It is so in your face in this all black outfit. And he's just, you see that?
Yeah. Like, just wear a black undershirt.
Just gonna put on a black t-shirt. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh God. Look at him. I like Boone. I've always liked Boone.
Boone seems like an awesome guy.
Yeah, I like him. He might be a little too buddy with the players, but I've always liked Aaron Boone. Always. And he was great on ESPN. He was always unbelievable on ESPN.
It's almost impossible to work for the Yankees and be liked because I'm on Twitter yesterday, and I don't know if you saw this exchange that I had with Chris Mano.
Oh, God.
He said Hal Steinbrenner is in Woody Johnson territory.
That is, that is actually crazy. That is a wild.
I get the championship or bust thing with the Yankees. I think it's a little overblown by the fans, but still, I get it. They haven't had a losing season literally in 30 years. The Jets haven't had a winning season since I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah, that's just, it's crazy, hater. Listen, you can have your problems with Hal, but like, Woody Johnson is, that's historically bad territory.
There are people, serious figureheads in football who have said, how do we get Woody Johnson to sell the team?
Yeah.
No one's complaining about Steinbrenner. I did want to go one more place with Cohen, now that I forget. Now that we're about to finish up.
Yep. I got a class.
Yeah, a lot of Cohen is bad for baseball stuff. I disagree. I'm sure you do too.
Oh, yeah.
But what do you think the MLB has to do to resolve this disparity among teams spending obnoxiously, which I'm fine with and I think is great for the game, and teams spending $20 million a year on a team?
Well, there's gonna be a lockout. I mean, I think there's gonna be a serious lockout this time around.
Yeah.
But you know what, Kevin? These guys are billionaires and they choose not to spend their money. So it's like, you know what? Yeah, some teams really can't afford it. There are some teams that just don't have the kind of money that the top teams do. But there are more teams than they let on that have the billions that can spend. So, for them, I don't feel bad. I don't necessarily know the answer. I really don't. Do you implement a salary cap with a salary floor? I really don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I agree with you. I think I'd put in the salary floor, but there's definitely going to be a lockout to figure some of that stuff out because the players failed miserably on the lockout the last time around. Owners don't spend. Some owners spend everything in the world. Interesting topic. We'll be back Friday talking baseball with Gabe, and we're once again doing an in-depth breakdown of what the Yankees can do, a plan B, actually mapping it out, writing it down with visuals for you. So make sure to tune in live to that. It'll also be on Spotify afterwards, but it won't give you as much of a service as the video format will do. Gabe and I are on tomorrow, coast to coast, 11 o'clock every Thursday. So that's not tomorrow. That's Thursday. Today's Tuesday. So we're on Thursday. I'll do a bunker tomorrow morning. Thanks for listening to this. Mike, every other Mets fan, congrats on getting Soto. We will, I'm sure, bring it up again on Friday.
Yep.
And enjoy the rest of your week. Look forward to seeing you around at the end of it.